Ineos is going to court. Listen, Sir Jim Ratcliffe is willing to leave no stone unturned in his attempt to bring Manchester United back up on its feet, as a new report coming through from a credible journalist in Paris is suggesting that Ineos have hired a lawyer to try and unblock the move of Jean-Claude Todibo from Nice to Manchester United. Welcome to the United World Sport. My name is Webb. A quick morning update. This is breaking news, and honestly, it's big. You might think, well, why is it important? Yes, it is important because I've been saying this consistently that Todibo, for me, I expected that he would be the first signing for Manchester United. And in all fairness, I think Ineos thought this one is going to be an easy one until they opened the rule book and it came dawning down on them that they couldn't sell to themselves. Now, Ineos, the chief himself, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, in his interview with Bloomberg just I think a week or two ago, he said he confirmed this, but he said, I mean, he doesn't understand why. I mean, who benefits from this? What does it mean? What does it achieve? Stopping a club from selling a player, agreeing on a fee and selling a player to an entity which they co-own. So Ineos is saying he did not understand it, but he thought he said he had, and I think he hinted on the fact that he was not giving up. And I'm not surprised to hear this news now coming in from a journalist called Sacha Tavolieri. He is a media personality from Paris. He's saying that what they have done now is to find and get try and find a proper sports lawyer to try and help them come and negotiate with UEFA to try and convince them that this is not right. It does not benefit anyone. Yet it's even hurting the player. Yet the interest of UEFA should be not to hurt players, to lead with the players' interest. And I think they will have a chance in this case. Because Jim Ratcliffe seemed to suggest that uh, Todibo was so eager to join Manchester United. They had, I think, convinced him, and he thought he was packing his bags. He was talking to all other clubs probably with this attitude, like he knows I'm joining Man United. You don't telling me nothing. He's been a boyhood support of Man United, and then just like that, because of some weird, inexplainable rule, he cannot join the club of his dreams when it was almost close. Honestly, if you're Todibo, how would you be feeling? But also, on the other side, for Manchester United, I think this was going to disorganize their transfer plan because obviously there was a proper plan of how many players they want to go for in the summer, how many would they sign, how many for how much. Now, if all of a sudden, and Todibo seemed to have been an obvious one. Now, if all of a sudden you're being told you can't sign him, then it's changing, adjusting, and confusing all your plans. And not that they did not have a plan B. That's why we've been linked with the elite, with all these other players. But for me, in all honesty, it's it doesn't really do our plans good if we are failing to get our first signing, not because we don't have money, not because we failed to negotiate with the owners of the player, but just because of some rule that does not allow us to sell to ourselves, if I would call it that, because Ineos are part owners of Man United and they own niche, so they can't sell. The way if they could out argue them in terms of playing in Europe, if they could put in a case, because remember they were given an ultimatum to present a case as to why they should be allowed to proceed and play in Europe together with Nice. If they could win that case because they won it, and indeed the two clubs will play in Europe. If they won that case, I'm sure this should be an easier one because this one is affecting the footballer. According to Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself, Todibo was hurt. And this shows me that Sir Jim is probably involved in this stuff himself. He's speaking to these players himself personally, spending time off from his multi-billion pounds business to talk to the players himself and read them and see exactly what they're going through. So for me, I think it brings back up. Even if this appeal doesn't go through, honestly, I think for me it's a good thing for us as Man United supporters to see that Ineos are willing to go the extra mile, invest extra cash, because that is more money spent on the lawyer to try and push through a move that we deem so important in terms of the future of Man United. Because honestly, the dream central defense we've had for a long time since Ineos came through has always been Lisandro Martinez next to Jean-Claude Todibo. Todibo can also play as a right back. He's a good footballer, good pass of the ball. He's tall, gives a good balance. Honestly, he's a proper Manchester United player, a proper Ineos signing, and we wouldn't just give up just like that on him. Yet he's available. He's just there, and just let him go to Spurs or the other clubs that are interested in him. So that's for me is a beautiful thing that Ineos are trying to do. It's a at least showing us that they are willing to go the extra mile and invest in seeing things happen according to plan. And we've been calling them out for a long time, about not having a plan. But let me tell you the plan and what's going on now, because many people are feeling like, why are we coming? Webb, you're coming here every day to give us stories about another player we are linked with, about a player where we can't sign and stuff. But where are the signings? Look, guys, the Premier League sustainability rules do the window ends on the last day of this month. That is, today is 26th, I think. Is it? Today is 26th or 27th. Now today is 26th. So in 5 days, the Premier League sustainability window that we are in will be ending. Now a new one will be starting on the 1st of July. Now from the 1st of July, Manchester United will be able to spend more than 35 million pounds. Right now, between now, before the last day, before the 1st of July, before the last day of this month, Man United can only spend between 30 to 35 million to be within the Premier League sustainability rules. That's why clubs are doing things thick and fast. Clubs are trying to sell players so fast if they want to make certain moves in this window, or to have a good closing to this PSR window. They must do certain things within the next 5 days. After that, we are going into a new window. You understand? So the reason why right now we are linked with this player and the other player, but not really signing any, because honestly, there is not, unless we go for Sahu Girassi, he's the only one player we can sign between now and then. Most of the other players we are linked with are more expensive than the 35 million pounds which we have available in cash to spend within this PSR window. Now, after this, on the 1st of July, that's when you should now be demanding to see moves being done, especially for players who are not at the Euros. Because for those at the Euros, the likes of Joshua Zirkzee and the likes, maybe because the player is at the Euro, we might want to wait until the Euros end. But for players who are not at the Euros, we should be able at least to push moves from the 1st of July. The likes of Jared Branthwaite, the likes of Ugarte, if we are still interested, because PSG is willing to sell him. All these other players that we are linked with who are not in the Euros. By the 1st of July, United then should be making moves, because whichever cash we want, the cash that Ineos wants to add into the transfers and everything will all come in, will all be able to come into play from the 1st of July. And Ineos are making these inquiries early now, so that by the time we get to that place where we can spend, right now what's happening, there are so many accountants, accounting guys, heads at Carrington, trying to adjust things to try to find a penny, every little penny they can get, so that by the 1st of July it is all focused on transfers. So they are collecting from all sources now. How the highest amount of money they can get is what they want to make available for transfers. That's the most important thing for Ineos. That's why they bought this small portion, 27.7% of the club, for nearly 1.5 billion pounds. Now it all starts making sense on the 1st of July. So start judging, counting down the signings from the 1st of July, because all signings we need are really not cheaper than 30 million or 35 million pounds. So that's why this talk between now and then, you should be expecting a lot of this. The only maybe change you might hear is Erik ten Hag signing a new contract, because that won't take money. Or Ruud van Nistelrooy, confirming and joining as a backroom member of the backroom staff. Or some kid we signed, like we already signed a couple of kids, I think, for a couple of million euros and thereabout. But in terms of marquee signings, which we need, these midfielders, the centre backs, the left backs, the strikers, all these are more than 30 million pounds players. We can only formally bid for them. Even the inquiries, even the bid we put in for Manuel Ugarte was a verbal bid. It was not a cash bid tabled, because the money is not there yet. Even the bid we had for Branthwaite, it could have been a cash bid, because he was within 35 million is cash, is within the money that we could spend in this this period, within the PSR. So that's what I wanted to highlight. But Todibo is not done. Watch out on the Todibo situation. Things might change, and Jean-Claire Todibo might indeed become the first signing for Manchester United. Ineos are working, and we are following this. Like, share, and subscribe. My name is Webb. I'll catch you later.